Here we go.
What up, y'all? This is episode 4 of the Beat
Eat
Ninjas
Ninjas podcast.
podcast. You know what I mean? We got one half over here, young Reese Beats, and my man Soprano over there. You know what I mean? And we have a very, 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 very special episode for y'all. This is our first special guest. I'm gonna let Soprano talk about him a little bit first. Go ahead. Go right ahead.
Okay, first of all, this man that's about to speak, he's like a father figure to me. He's a musical mentor to me. Um, he's an excellent musician. Um, one of the founding fathers of the Chapman Sticks, and he taught me so much about music. I remember so many times at your house, Reese, and in the basement with Pops, and him playing me music, and not only that, but introducing him to technology as regards the computer
Hmm.
and
I,
and
I
um,
remember those days.
and Ableton and him embracing it because there was a period of time in music where I didn't want to embrace technology at all.
Hmm.
Because I started on me and another friend that we have. We bought like a 400 year, a 400 no $400 Yamaha keyboard, and
Yep.
we were doing our little beats on that, our little music on that, and then technology hit, and I didn't want to embrace it at all,
Right.
but I
Right.
finally did. And so, what I like about Pops is that he was always open minded about embracing technology, but his music stands by itself. Uh,
Hmm.
Reese, we grew up together. You're like my little brother.
That's right.
And this man is like a father figure to me. I admire him. I love him with all my heart. And it's a pleasure even to bring out his music again to this day. Oh, by the way, Travel Kit is out on Spotify right now. So
That's right.
everybody
Yep.
pick that up. Baby Magic is coming, and the link will be in my bio. So with that being said, I love you, Pops. You're my heart, and it's a pleasure to talk to you today. I want to find out how you started, your love for music, the journey. We want to know about the journey. And I'm very emotional right now because I love you that much. And it's an honor to have you on the Beat Ninjas podcast
Yes.
with my
Yes.
little brother. So I'm gonna turn it over to my little brother.
Yes. Yes. So, as you guys have heard, we have Pops, Mr. Daniel Kane, in the flesh on the Beat Ninjas podcast. This is the reason why I am in music today because of my dad. And he pretty much gave me the love for the music. As a kid, you guys know, listening to all the oldies, all the Motown stuff. My brothers kind of had an effect with the hip hop, but Pops came around, and we got to kind of show him, that hip hop isn't all bad and he can appreciate it. But yeah, so without further ado, I want you guys to give a warm welcome to Mr. Daniel Kane, my pops. Welcome to the Beat Ninjas podcast, pops.
Well, hello, both of you. Good to see you. Good to have you with you.
So, Pops, how'd you start? We want to hear about your journey.
Okay. My journey started when I was like fourth grade. I say fourth grade because by that time, some friends of mine, kids, was a youngster, um, we decided to do music. And they all got little hand playable instruments like a clarinet, a guitar, a flute, and I got a piano. And they could play their music outdoors. I couldn't get my piano outdoors. So I looked for another alternative and I found a trumpet. And so I started playing that or trying to play it when I was in fourth grade. Um, all I knew was to play the horn as loud as I could, and blah, blah, blah. And my teacher was fed up with me. She grabbed me and said, "Hey, boy, don't nobody want to hear you playing all that noise." She says, "They want to know how you feel with it." And she said, "You got to give the people something to feel, not something to hear like that." So I took it with a grain of salt, didn't really understand it, but I progressed to the point where I started playing the piano and trying to play music that made him feel good rather than just say, "Hey, turn that off." So that was fourth grade, and I was loving the music, and I grew up playing, trying to play stuff on that trumpet. That was my start. Um, our band, the guitar player, we decided we were going to rock and roll. We didn't really know what that was, but we knew it was electric. So he plugged some wires into his violin and plugged it into the wall.
And that's what happened.
It's straight
And,
everywhere.
and Pop, please tell everyone, how old were you at this point?
I was probably 8 or 9 years old,
Okay.
and but I learned what my teacher meant. Miss Manini, that was her name, and she was thrilled by my progress in the many years that I was with her. And she made a little notebook. You know, people play "Too Good to Be Forgotten," those
Yeah.
kind of things that the kids pass around. And she said, "I would love one day to see you and your orchestra on TV."
Oh.
I didn't even know what an orchestra was. But by the time I was just starting high school, I went to Limestone, Maine, and played some music in the marching band, and the people liked it. And
Uh-huh.
next thing you know, I did a concert on a TV show in a place called Presque Isle.
Oh,
And
okay. So that was on TV. That was your
yeah,
first
yeah,
major appearance on TV.
yes, that's right.
And what year was this, Pops?
This is probably 1957, 58, 58.
Okay.
It's a long time ago, you know.
Well, I mean, it's historical. Let's just call it historical.
Mm-hmm.
So, Pops, your start. Let's fast forward. Your start at Motown. Let's talk about that.
Okay. I was in a little town called Big Sur, California.
Big Sir, yes.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it was between the ocean and the forest. There's a little windy road,
Mm-hmm.
and I had taken up residence there. I was teetotaler. I drank tea that we grew and made, and there was into the music. There was this little club I played for. It wasn't a club. It was like a little, almost a bar and grill.
Okay.
And I'd go and play there because people liked a little bit I could do on the guitar and sing it. I was fortunate enough to be in there. This is around the time that Marvin Gaye happened to put out the album about what's going on and Mercy, Mercy Me,
Oh, beautiful.
and
Classics.
Classic.
Classic. Yeah.
Classics.
and I didn't. I was just in the woods playing music with people listening and drinking tea. And I'm in this little club, and Marvin shows up, and he had taken a trip with his girlfriend, his new girlfriend, and his brother who was driving this big what do you call those big vans?
Trailer.
Trailer thing with bedrooms in it, bathroom, refrigerator. It was huge.
Like a mobile home.
In fact, it was so big, you couldn't drive it off of the path in the campgrounds that I was in. So he'd have to park that thing on the highway. But he came into the little Big Sur Inn is what they called it. And I was playing. And he came in and he said, that's pretty good. I said,
Wow.
thanks. Who are you?
You didn't know who he was?
I didn't know who he was because,
right.
I'm off in my world of being out there in the wilderness. And here this guy is, and he's saying, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm just playing for the people who would like some tea. We had this big gallon wine bottles that we had put herbal tea in and had our own. That's what we drank out of. And I played a couple of songs more, and he said, I like that. He said, you ever think about coming down to LA?
Wow.
Los Angeles?
Wow.
This is Marvin telling you this.
Yeah.
This is Marvin telling you.
That's crazy, man.
That's crazy, man.
I said, well, I hadn't thought of it, but it might be a good idea, And he said, well, why don't you do that? And so he invited me to go. And I did go there. I took a trip, me and a buddy of mine. And they said, I'm in Los Angeles. And he's putting me up in a motel for me to stay during the time they're going to be there.
Wow.
And we hit it off. We became friends just that instant because he liked what I did and I liked what he was doing. So anyway, that was my start with Marvin,
And so after that, what your journey after you met Marvin, after you guys became friends, what happened after that? How did it affect your creative process after that?
Well, I'm kind of different in certain ways. Like I guess anybody who's that way. I had my own way of thinking how I wanted to do stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I was used to the songs that I sung and whatever. And what I wanted to do was to give a representation of that type of music. And so he said, okay, let me get you up with somebody. And he introduced me to, I think his name is H.B. Barnum, something like that. And actually, he was a good orchestrator and producer. And he liked one of the songs that I did. And he said, let's do that one. So I recorded a song in the studio. And I liked it because it had, realness to it. Other than that, I was just singing into a cassette player or something like that.
Right.
And
this is with Motown too?
Well, this is what Marvin had his own thing. He at this point in his life, he was getting back to recovering, had not performed for many years since
was it Tammy Terrell? You remember Tammy Terrell? Ain't nothing but the real thing, baby.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Well, they were very close and they were singing stuff and doing very good. And she died on him. She died and it took a whole bunch out of him. And he didn't perform, going on on tour or anything like that for 8 years. And when I met up with him, he had just done and completed the What's Going On album. And
classic.
Classic. So what I want to talk about now, Pops, is your journey with the Chapman stick. When did you start that? And how did that influence or change your style of music? Because being a youngster, I never heard of that instrument. but your albums, your music, what you create is it's something like you can sit back in your car and just, or even I've listened to it just laying back in my bed, just going, man, it just
Just vibing.
takes me to another place. It relaxes me. How did that start? How did that instrument enter your life?
Well, after having that visit with Marvin and us becoming close and friends and things, I began to learn and get an insight into him and his music and his company and who he was working with. And I started trying to write music because I got a contract with Motown to become like a orchestrator writer. They liked the way that I could play the piano, and they liked some of the songs. So what I did is I wrote a few songs that people liked, and I guess time came along. Marvin decided that he was going to take a trip away from us. I mean, he went overseas, but that was a little later. But he said, why don't you sign up with me as a publisher and
Oh,
publish their music? Because I published music for Marvin and leaving out everything else. There was a guy, you remember Rick James?
yeah. No, Rick James.
I'm Rick James.
That's right. Rick, I published some of the music that he had, and I published Marvin's "Let's Get It On."
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
Wow,
so
pops, that's some history right there.
That's it. That is history. That's got to be one of Marvin's like biggest songs. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's wild.
well, Marvin had met this young lady, and he was in love. Her name was Janet, and they were a cute couple because I ended up staying in that motorhome with Marvin parked in his house, his apartment on Bundy Street. That's where it was. And her name was Jan. And he was in love, and he said they're going to do a concert in Oakland, California. And so we traveled from LA to Oakland, and he did his concert there at, I forgot the name of the theater, or
Was it
Oakland
Oakland? Was it Oakland?
Coliseum.
Oh no, was it the Paramount or
The Grand, yeah, probably, yeah. Was
because
it
it
near
had
Lake Merritt?
It's this is a Coliseum, like I guess.
Oh
oh, so
yeah,
that's Oakland Coliseum, pops.
that's Coliseum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and the people were crazy over that. And him and his new love, he sung about her. Um, and I thought she was neat because the two of them were like two kids experiencing love for the first time. And
Wow.
so, anyway, I got a recognition from the Motown, their publishing company, sitting at the piano one day playing a melody, and a man named Ron Miller, who is a famous writer at that time for Within the Circle, heard me playing that evening, and he went to the boss at Motown Publishing and said, "I think you ought to listen to this man." And so I ended up playing, and they liked the music. And Ron wrote "For Once in My Life," Stevie Wonder's,
Stevie. Mhm.
Oh man.
and yeah, he also wrote "Touch Me in the Morning, Then
Oh,
Just Walk Away.
oh, Diana Ross.
We don't have tomorrow, but we have yesterday." Yeah, and
That's crazy.
I
Yeah.
was so thrilled by the fact that this man, because I found out who he was. So He said, let me tell you this. You don't want to meet Stevie? I said, oh, Stevie Wonder? He said, yeah. He said, Stevie going to be here on such and such a day up on 17th. That was the 17th floor. I worked on the 16th floor in my little publishing thing. And so when that day came, we went up to the 17th, and Stevie was up there playing on the piano in this big office with views of everywhere from that building on the 17th floor. He he said, Daniel, go over and meet Stevie. And so I went over there, and he was sitting at the piano. I said, I grabbed his hand. He said, I said, hi, Daniel. He said, no, you're Daniel. I'm Stevie. And that was how nervous I was. I just called the man me, you know. Um, but made friends with Stevie and got to know a little bit of his history, got to experience it a lot. And that was pretty much it. That was my introduction to Motown. Yeah.
That's wonderful, Pops.
That's great.
That's beautiful. It's crazy, and it's a beautiful story. And so with that being said, all the people that you've met, the things that you experienced, what was the transition to the Chapman Stick?
While I was at Motown, I was writing songs, and I had one that I needed some musicians for. So they introduced me to a couple of people, and I met a young fellow named Randy Strong, who I have to tell you to this day is probably one of the finest musicians I've ever been in contact with. And I've been with a few.
Yeah.
And Randy Strong came in, and he was playing everything that you threw there at him to play. But one of the things he played was a stick, Chapman stick. And he knew he was very computer oriented. He knew how to do everything with it as well as play. And he ended up playing the stick. I loved it. And he said, well, you want to buy it? He said, I'm getting a new one. I said, okay. And I bought this baby stick, he called it, because it was one of the 78th one that the man had made.
Oh, wow. Special edition.
Yes.
Emmett Chapman.
We made 200 of them. And from that on, he went to play and make other ones. But that was how I got to the stick. I saw this Randy Strong playing it and decided I wanted to do that.
And a beautiful instrument. And I never heard of it until you came into my life. So it's a beautiful instrument. What in your journey you opened up for a lot of people too, right? Like playing the Chapman Stick.
Yeah. That's funny. I didn't know if I could do that type of thing. The one thing I do remember is that Marvin, when he first started with me, got me all suited up and dressed up in different kind of entertainment clothes, and he had a lady that did his photography, and she dressed me and took my picture and stuff. And a fellow named Michael Mancha, who was like a running man for Marvin. He would do everything. And he started giving me tips and stuff, and they were preparing me to do little concerts here and there. I even had a setup to do opening night for Fleetwood Mac.
Wow.
But unfortunately, it didn't happen.
Wow.
Marvin just kept throwing these little things at me that he wanted me to do. And I'm beginning to realize that there was something that I could do that people liked.
Now I remember a story I know who told me. I don't know whether it was our dear friend Kenny, but you had opened up for Joe Satriani.
Oh yeah, yeah, sure did. That was an experience because that's a I don't know what you would call it, the best or whatever. He was definitely in the works, in the play.
Top of his game.
Yeah. And I didn't play the kind of music that would rock people out and I played relaxation kind of stuff that made you
Yeah.
feel good in that sense, but it was subtle. And so I opened up at Warfield Theater for Joe. Yeah.
Wow.
Warfield. Yeah, there we go. That's what it was.
That's what it was.
San Francisco.
Me and
And
Bill earlier were talking.
they had me playing there a lot. I played headline for my own self, and I played also oh one of the songs got out to the radio station
KKSF.
Thank you, KKSF, and I heard him on the radio say, "Well, we got this music here. We're going to play and see what you think about it." They played something. And later on, after the song was over with, he said, "So write us a letter, call us and let us know what you think." And they liked it enough that they wanted more. And they said, "Well, what we'd like to do with you, Daniel, is have you open up at the Great American Music Hall."
That's the one. Yeah.
Oh my.
Gary, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Great American Music Hall was something I loved it because I've seen people that I love playing there. But for me to be going there was good. And I went and I performed there, and that just opened the door for me to go on and venture into other stuff. So
That's awesome, Pops. That is so awesome. And so now I want to talk about your adventures as regards the pier, playing at the pier.
Yeah, Fisherman's Wharf. Yeah.
Fisherman's Wharf, because that's how you really became well known. That's how I heard of you. And a lot of people heard of you. So tell me about the pier, your journey on the pier.
When I did get out on the pier, it was because you know how they have different buskers out there painting and selling artwork and different kind of things. So along Jefferson Street, you had a line of different people playing things. There were some very good people there. There was a lady named Susie Sound, and she'd come out at night and have eerie lights going on, and she'd play music, and it was very cool, and she was good. And they had artists, and they had a spot open where was right near the entrance of the cannery building, and they allowed me to put my amplifier there and start playing music. And when I did, at first you could hear the grass grow. It was so quiet. But I ended up playing, and I began to notice something. I began to notice that the kids, the little ones, appreciated the music. I'd play something and I'd see a reaction for them. In fact, the one that I really noticed that started me off, I was on the corner of Jefferson and Hyde playing, and a man and his daughter came by. And she must have been about 7, 8, 6, something like that. A little girl. And he was holding her hand walking by, and I'm playing music as they walk by. And I look and I see her as she looks and sees me, and she starts pulling back from my daddy's hand that she wanted to stop. But he was in a hurry to get to the other corner because his family run a shop down there. So he wasn't interested in what I was doing. Didn't even hear it probably, but she did. And so he's dragging her along, and she's pulling and pulling, trying to get free. And she finally, everybody notices her. And so she struggles and struggles, and she finally works her hand loose, and she comes back to me. And she looks up and she starts doing this little dance as she heard the music. And he finally came and got her and took her away. Well, I began to see her once every, couple of weeks or whatever to go visit her grandfather at the other corner. And so periodically they would go by, but she was always being pulled. And then one year, 12, a 12-year-old came to me and said, "Hi, do you remember me?" And I said, "Who are you?" She said, "I'm Tara." She said, "I was the one who used to stop and listen to your music. I really like it. And I still like it. But now I can come off the corner where my grandfather is, because they know now it's you."
Wow.
And so that was a great experience that I had. And I wrote a song for her called Daddy Slow Down. Can't you see I'm running? Because she was trying to keep up with him and she didn't want to. So
Hey,
anyway.
I know that song. I know that song. Gotta slow down.
Yeah.
So you had your history on Pier 30, what, Cannery Row? Is it Cannery Row? Is it called Cannery Row? What's it called?
No,
Or it's just
Fisherman's Wharf. On Fisherman's Wharf, the Cannery building
Cannery
is
Building.
a huge place to play.
Yeah.
I eventually got accepted by the owner of the Cannery because I began to play songs and talked about the cannery. And the people would go into the shops and just like Ghirardelli, they would buy chocolates, stuff like that. And so on cannery, I made my own, and they had a little garden area that had weeds. But the more and longer I played there, flowers and stuff started growing behind me.
Oh, wow.
Beautiful flower place. I started trying to set up a setup that looked nice and was becoming. I always wore a vest and a tie. And anyway, it was a wonderful experience because everybody would come there and they'd stop when they hear the music.
Well, Pop, I wanted to first of all say thank you for sharing your story, your time, your journey with
Yeah, absolutely.
me and my little brother, because you are my family. There
Yes.
there is no words that can express how much that I love you, and I love Aaron, the Beat Ninjas. But I want to thank you for your time, and thank you for being an inspiration to me as regards trying to be a musician. And I say trying because I still have a lot to learn, but you're that inspiration, and I love you so much. So thanks for sharing uh the story, your journey with everyone. And I can't wait to air this because
absolutely.
people are gonna love this. They're gonna soak this up, Pop.
Yeah, and me too, Pop. I mean, like I said, it's funny because I've got it's five of us, right? Five boys, and I always used to tell Pops like, I ain't got no talent, you know what I mean? But I do, and it comes from him, and
Yeah.
I've been able to write. I've been able to, I'm not a musician in the sense that, I can sit there and play the piano and do all this stuff, but I know what sounds good. And I know what it means for something to hit you in the heart. That all comes from him, and
Absolutely. And it's an ear for music.
yeah.
So that's a talent in itself, is having an ear for music. And I'm not saying like everyone hears music.
Right.
But I'm saying to be able to actually
hear it.
Yeah, know what sounds good, or know where notes or placement of certain like where things should be placed. That's a talent. That's a talent in itself. So Pops, from the bottom of my heart, man, I love you, man.
I want to tell you both, thank you.
I love
Appreciate the opportunity.
And I can't wait to talk to you again, and I can't wait to hear your creative ideas. And I'm going to continue to push your music as much as I can to the masses that,
I
that
appreciate
haven't
it.
heard it yet.
Yeah,
All right. Well,
I
thank you
love
both.
you. I love you, Pops.
I love
So
you
with
too.
that being said, this is an emotional Beat Ninjas podcast.
So little housekeeping, y'all. Just a little
Yeah.
something. Before we forget, we are working on a new project. It is called the Dirty Puppy Project.
Dirty Puppy Project.
Yes.
And so let's explain this. So the Dirty Puppy Project, people go, well, what's the story? Well, it's a story about pretty much an abandoned puppy in a big city. And with that being said, he's looking for a home, looking for a place to be loved, right?
Right.
So with that being said, I always thought, well, let's get a bunch of producers together, a bunch of music creators, and let's find their music a good home to where they don't feel abandoned. So that's my concept for this album. And so it'll be coming up soon. I'm still waiting for a few producers to jump on board. I'm waiting for April Springfield.
Yeah, I'm working with this lady named April Springfield, and
Yeah.
we're writing something for her. So
She's, let's just say she's kind of a Whitney Houston esque
yeah,
artist. But
yep.
but I wanted to thank everybody for the support. And once again, I can't tell this man how much I love him. I'm giving him his flowers now. Let's clap. Let's clap for Daniel Kane, man. We got to clap for Daniel Kane, bro. Give him his flowers now. He's done a lot of good things in this music industry. He's been behind the scenes. He's been in front of the scenes. So love you, Pops, and salute.
Yes, absolutely.
So I'm gonna we're gonna end this right now.
Yep. So once again, thank everybody. Thank you guys for supporting us, supporting the Beat Ninjas and podcast. We hope you enjoy this one. This was very special for us, so we hope it's special for you. Until next time, Beat Ninjas out.
Beat Ninjas out.